I stamp this again, so I'm just going to stamp this so it goes, I'm just doing mine in the middle of my card just to make it easier. So I'm just going to take this one here, and we're just going to put this along here. Right, so we've got that image there, and then let's put you Farley there. What I want to do is I want to take this image, which is the main one from the, do you know, I'm dreadful for remembering my stamp sets names, Frame It With Flowers. So this is, we've got this one here. And what I'm going to do is I want to take this, and I'm just using the little dot, those three areas there, and I'm just using them as a visual clue to my eye that where I'm going to line that up. So we're just going to put that there. So there we go. So I'm just going to put this one along here. And I've got that now. So what I did was I'll lift it up so you can see. So where that frame ended, I've taken the last little bit of the stamp that was there, that little bit of leaf or whatever you want to call it, frou-frou, fluff. And I've just used it as my visual clue to go on to that end part there. And where I've got the dots, it doesn't matter now that this part is going down that way. It looks like it's got a natural flow like that. So we've got those two. So what I then did was from the Frame It With Flowers, I've taken the corner one, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to join these up with the corner, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap so we can create a frame that way, and then we're going to fill the gap with other things, as she says. So if I take this one here, now I could bring it down, I could put it so it goes along, and I can fill the gap here, but we'll make it just a little bit wider. And we'll just put that there. So now I've taken, expanded it, making it a square in a completely, different way altogether. So now we've got that there, but we've got a little bit of a gap. Now you can bring in your micron pens. So I'm just going to grab, or we can start using some of the other smaller elements. And that's why we've got the smaller elements in there. We can start, you could put a heart in the middle. You could put the music notes in the middle if you had a different background as well. Do you know, I've only just started and I've got ink everywhere. You could take the smaller flowers, and we could add a smaller flower into that gap there, and then you could add one over here. So so the choice, what you want to do is yours. I'm going to go for a little heart, and let's grab a smaller block for a change. So I'm just going to take a little heart and we'll stamp it in black. And I can then, sorry, I've got to rotate my work, I do apologise. And then I can put a little heart there. So I'm now going to make mine go this way, and I can put, and we'll put another one just going there. So all I'm doing is I'm just, so that heart doesn't stand out like a sore thumb, I'm just putting some in some other places I think it would work. So we just put another one up there. So now we've created a different frame altogether using the different parts. And because the lines are loose, like I said, I'm just going to get a cloth just to wipe my stamp down. It doesn't matter that they don't join up. And that's what I wanted. I wanted everybody to have not the pressure of worrying whether things lined up or didn't line up. But I'm just going to let that dry for a minute because I re-inked my ink pad, so it's a little bit juicy and I didn't get my heat gun out. Right, okay, so I'm just going to do some really, really quick colouring with watercolouring, because when I demo, I just find it easier. Watercolouring is a quick way of doing it for me. And it doesn't have to be daunting at all. So I'm just going to put a yellow down very quickly, and I just want a highlight colour. And I'm going to do the same for my other flowers. So the yellow is like you see us put white on stamped images, you know, to add highlights. I'm going to try and make the colour that I use be the highlight. So, and with Ecolines I can do it really, really quickly. So that's going to be a little bit of the yellow go down there. Let's grab a bit of the vermilion. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the vermilion here. I will spend hours colouring because I'm now rushing doing this, but I have to be honest, I'm on to the next part of my project, so I do like to colour quite quickly. It takes me longer with alcohol pens and pencils because I seem to tune out from the world when I do that. And then I'm just going to get a darker red. So I'm just going to do it like that. So that looks absolutely awful. And I've done that deliberately. I'm just going to find a paintbrush. Right, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab some water and I'm just going to put water on. And all I want to do now is I'm going to let them do the work. So I'm just literally just going to dab water on the top. And I'm just going to start and just put the water onto the yellow areas because they're going to be my highlight. And I'm going to let the capillary action actually start the blending process. It's a great way to get a really loose watercolour effect from any watercolours if you just put the colour down and then just take water and dab it around. If you're worried about your colour bleeding outside your stamped images, stamp and emboss and then it'll stay inside your images. I'm just going to grab some water. So you could do this, like I said, with your dye-based ink pads as well as... Okay, so like I said, all I'm going to do is, all I'm doing is just putting some water on the, where I put the yellow, the deep yellow colour. And let the water do its thing. Okay, and you can see in places now it's starting to merge and it's doing all the blending for me. And then I'm just going to come up from the bottom now. So let's move my water pot over here and I won't be leaning across all the time. So I'm just going to come from the bottom and dab out the darker colour and let the two bits of water meet. And it looks a real hot mess until it dries. But you get, it's a really nice way of getting a really loose watercolour effect. And I'm just cleaning the paintbrush in between. And if you feel like you've got too much water on there, just take a tissue and dab it off, because you can always add colour. because that's the nature of watercolours. They'll carry on blending. So we've got there. I didn't put any yellow that side. Oh, let's see if I can quickly squidge some yellow in before the water. I wouldn't normally say put a watercolour pen near water, but we'll see if we can get away with it really quickly. So as I said, I'm just putting the water on, and then I'm just patting it, and I'm going to let the water and the colours blend. Now, I'm not worried it's going outside because I actually want to blend some of the colour outside. And we've got that there. I'm going to go. Go. And so all I'm doing is just cleaning the excess colour off where I've got it. Okay. So I have to move my work around otherwise. And the Ecolines, because they're highly pigmented as well, really help with this process as well. Right, so we've got that. And I'm not worried it will go over where the green is because we'll let it dry. So you've lost me now because I'm in colouring mode. Right, so we've got the colour very quickly going down. So it's just a really, really quick way of letting the colour go down. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to go off to do some of the leaves. And I'm going to go for, let's go for deep green or the turquoisey one. Let's go fir green. And I'm just going to put the darker colour at the base. I have got one done to show you. I try and leave my watercolours to dry naturally if I can, rather than heat setting them. Just habit. So I'm just putting a little bit of dark at the bottom this time. And I'm not filling the whole of the image in. Colouring can be as quick or as long as you want it to be. But as I want a loose looking colour, I'm just going to do it that way. I think I might do the leaves on the flower a different colour, we'll see. We've got that going there, and then I'm just going to take another green and put it beside it. Very quickly. All right, I should have done those ones, but I'll do them in a minute. We've got that there. So have a look in the different sort of watercolour pens or pencils you've got, that, or if you've got like the Tim Holtz pencils, that would do exactly the same as well. All right, so we've got that just going really, really quickly there. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just pulling my colour out very, very quickly. And I'm doing it near enough with a damp brush. And like I said, I'm not worried if it goes over the lines. I'm not worried where here's gone over the lines, because we're going to do something with that. I'm being really quick now. So I'm just going up, like I said, so the brush has got water on it, but if I put the brush on my hand, you wouldn't see that there's any water in it, but it's damp. You can feel it's damp on the back of your hand, but it's not flooded with water. If you don't like using like water brushes, a lot of companies now do blender pens, and a blender pen does exactly the same thing as a paintbrush would and water, but you don't have to use water. You can use the blender pen instead, and it will still give you the watercolour look. And it's a great way to actually get started with watercolour. And most blender pens, doesn't matter which company, will cross over to each thing. All right, so we've got that going really, really quickly. And as I said, I'm not worried about the bleeding out, because we're going to do some bits with that in a moment. I'm going to stick to the darker colour on here. Okay. And let's colour those in, because I forgot to colour those in. Actually, I might leave those ones and do something different with them. Sorry, I've changed my mind again. Okay, right. And this time I'm going to use the pen to colour it out, only because I want these to be slightly darker, because they're linked to the flower. I must find the original design, because the original design when I drew this is near enough A3 in size. Okay, so that's really quick. So all I'm going to do is take the same colour again, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark here and in places. And I'm just going to put a little bit here. And as I said, that's why I'm not worried that there was a bleed of colour. And then I'm just going to go a lighter green. So now I'm just colouring and ignoring that the lines were there from the frame. And we're just going to turn this round. So I'm just going to take the green and I'm just blending it together. And again, I'm using a lot of water because I want the capillary action to blend the two colours together. And as they dry, they'll spread out as the water dries. Got that there, and I'm going to just bring out some of the green here. Grab a block. I just want to add a little bit more green in places. Let's get a bigger brush. Oh, take that out. All I'm doing with the bigger brush is I'm taking the colour and I'm just dabbing now because I want to create. This is why I wasn't worried about the colour bleeding out from the flower. Because now I'm just going to use the colours that are on there. To create a really soft wash. Now, there is a lot of water on here, so it will need to dry. I'll probably have to get my heat gun out. I was trying to avoid it. Now, you could leave it just like that. You don't need to... I'm just putting a little bit more green in places. You don't need to blend out. You could leave it clear. But I just wanted to create so it looked a little bit like there's a lot more greenery here than there actually is. And also, you don't notice the framing as much either. So we've got right, so we've got that there. Let's use you up, I might as well, rather than waste you. Because that would be criminal. All right, okay. We'll clean that like that. So now, you know, we've created a quick water brush. And if I lift it up, because I've used a lot of water, there are elements here that, you know, that have leaked out. And that doesn't, it's all for the watery effect. I'm going to have to go and get my heat gun. I thought I might not be able, I might get away without it, but I am going to have to. Let's heat this up. So all I want to do is it's not going to dry perfectly because obviously the water's gone into the card, but I want to do some other bits and pieces with it, and I just need at least the top layers to work with it. I'm just going to do the reverse as well. If you get into the habit of doing the reverse as well as the front, it helps with the card not buckling. So it takes away all the buckling effect from the water, because you're now drying the water out from both sides, especially if you want to work on it straight away. Right, let's do you there. Just wanted to grab a micron pen, or 3 dozen. I do love a micron. And I want a 02 or a 3. Okay. Mine are so well loved, they've lost all the numbers at the top. And all I'm going to do then is to take my eye away from some of the areas that I'm going to just colour in some of the little bits with a micro pen. Now, ideally, this should be drier than it is, because it's the same with any pen. If you use it on a wet product, it can soak up some of the moisture, and that's when your pens stop working or they get all gunky and horrible. But we're going to risk it. So there we go. So now, because I'm introducing the darker colour, now I could have done this a dark green, and that would have blended in. But because I've done it the black, any areas that I don't like my watercolouring on, you'll suddenly seem to fade into the background because of having the black colour. I maybe could have gone for a thicker pen, but that would have sped up the whole process a little bit. Now this I will cut down and make it into a card front. I'm just doing it on a bigger piece of card. If you're trying a new concept or a new idea out, it's always better to do it on a bigger piece of card, because you can always chop it down or chop out the bits you don't like. If you give yourself a smaller piece of card and you don't know how the stamps look or work, and then it doesn't line up where you want everything to be, it can be quite frustrating. I mean, all I would do then is just make it look like that was the plan all along, and move my sentiment around. So all of a sudden now, let's move you guys out of the way, because I've added those little bits of black in, it's changed the look again of the card, or the frame. And now it's not necessarily the frames that we stamped before, it's now like a floral picture. Okay, I'm going to colour these out rather than watercolour them. I already decided I was going to colour them out. Like I said, I think I could have treated myself. I've got enough micron pens. I probably could have got done with getting a slightly bigger nib. But hey ho. Right, there we go. And then the last one. And one of the things I really wanted from the stamp set was that it didn't matter which direction it went in. So it could go that way round. I know the hearts. I mean, if I was going to go this way round, I would have put the hearts facing me. I've done mine so it goes that way, but it could have equally have gone that way. And it really doesn't matter at all which way, sort of thing. Okay, so all I'm going to do now with the micron pen is, if I get up, down, up, down. So where I've got the flower elements here, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra detail. So where I've got that little line there, I'm going to put some dots. And I literally, when I do the dots, I will actually just say to myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around that line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all I do, I count, because then I just find if I count and keep to the same number of dots, 4, 5, it just works for me. So now I've just built out the centre of the flower just a little bit more. And then you don't, if you follow go either side of the line, I'll show you, and I'll lift it up again. When you do your dots, so if I show you there, so the line was in the centre there, and I've just done my dots. I've just gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around the actual line. Once you get past the line a little bit, you can stop. But it's a quick way, if you don't want to do shading, as in dark and light, of bringing in a quick little bit of shading in the areas where you think it would have the shading. And all, like I said, and all I'm doing is using the lines and counting to 5. I mean, you could count to 3, you could count to whatever you want to count to, really. It's just, that's how it works in my head. So, very quickly, I've just added a little bit. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've just added a little tiny little bit of shading to each of them, you know, to show them off in a totally different way. Right, let's put there. And that would then be, it's up to you whether I would leave the hearts the colour they are, white. I wouldn't colour them in at all, because it's a nice contrast. And then when it gets cut down, this would make a 7x7 card front, because I would score probably I make a top fold card, so I would score there, cut it down, and it would make a 7x7 card. You could cut it down even further. I could cut it down so it was down, literally, you don't have to have the whole of the flower image in, but part of it, and you could then, that's roughly a 6x6. So you don't have to have absolutely everything in place. Now the last thing I'll do on this image is I'm going to take that square again. Now, as I said, the square was there to create backgrounds. Now, if you've got watercolour pens or you've got smaller ink pads, for example, like the standard Distress, or you've got the little, you know, you can get the little Dauber ink pads. They work, you know, just as well. So all I'm doing is I'm looking at the dots, and I'm going to use my actual watercolour pen, and I'm lining it up within that bit there so I can see how many to colour. I'm just going to huff on it, and I'm just going to put some dots there in the green just to make them stand out. So this time round I'm looking, and I'm going to go 4 that way, and 6 that way. Yeah. There we go. And also by doing this, it's another way to take away if there's any colour that's bled from the flowers. So we've got here, I'm going to go over this part here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can still ink and take away the ink with a cloth. Okay. We've got that now added there. And again, then it totally changes the look. And anywhere where I've got a little bit of loose colour, it changes that there as well. If these now, because these are watercolour and they stand out a little bit too much, if you just get your paintbrush and just dab them and knock them back a little bit, you could have some stand out and you could have some being a little bit more of a shadow. When watercolour is dry, it will get lighter. It just because of the wetness here. So suddenly it can change the look again. I'm just going to colour that yellow bit out. I might make that flower blend a bit more. There we go. So then it's just what sentiment you use, whether you use one of the die cut sentiments or the stamped one or whatever ones you've got. But suddenly if I put that in the middle, I've created a really, really quick card. Just by, just by doing it that way. And it, like I said, if I hadn't stamped the hearts, it could have gone that way and my sentiment could go there, or it could have been a sentiment that goes over 3 or 4 lines. I could have had it this way, ignore the hearts, and my sentiment can go that way. And that's what I wanted from it. Depending on what you wanted to do with the project, and which way you wanted it to look, you then become the designer of the. It's not a set design. It's up, it's for you then to become the designer and get lost in the creativity, she says, hopefully. Right. I hope that gives you a quick way. I have got lots more coming out showing different other ways. One video that I am doing is if you've got the starflower frames, there are some elements in there that can extend these frames. I've just got to edit that big time. So what I'm going to do is, so there's that one. I did do one just in case I didn't get it finished and I have dried it. But I changed it around. And instead of using the heart, so what I did is I actually joined the corner and made the corner come over a little bit more and changed the way it looked. So where this time round, where I used that leaf to join the end part, what I did on this one was I actually used another leaf to join it. So it's moved this bit even further. So the rectangle shape is smaller and that one is larger. I hope that makes sense. So thanks ever so much for your time and company. I hope that just gave you a little idea of a way that you can use the stamps. And please do share what you make. I love to see what people make. Only because you guys will play with them in a completely different way than the way I've played with them. Because in my head, I've designed them to be a set way, and then you'll see a different way. And I think that is so cool. And a great memory for me to try something different. I will start sharing the videos if YouTube, well, if my internet does as it's told, if I'm being honest, we're having woeful internet at the moment. So you can see all the different ideas. So I'm being really good. I'm putting all my stamps back on the right stamp set. And the only reason I'm doing that is about the only way I remember what each stamp set is called. I'm dreadful. Charmaine tells me off all the time for not mentioning the names. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. See you all soon. Bye.